Welcome to my channel. Another educational lesson from Francisco Perez. Let's get into it. Fair use.
Dynasty, which expanded to become the first great kingdom of Asia Minor. A state built on the most advanced legal system of its time. A civilization that formed the cultural link between the ancient East and West. A language that was the earliest example of all Indo-European languages. Dynasty, which expanded to become the first great kingdom of Asia Minor. A state built on the most advanced legal system of its time. A civilization that formed the cultural link between the ancient East and West. A language that was the earliest example of all Indo-European languages. A mythology that influenced Greek and Roman literature, as well as the Bible. Kings that fought the pharaohs in the greatest battles of history. Defiant, proud men and women who ruled the...
Now look at the faces. Never mind the wardrobe. How many times have your ancestors switched wardrobes? So don't say, oh, this can't be me, this can't be my ancestors, because look at how I dress today, look at how my people dress. It's not the same. Look at the face. Now think about people you know and see if you notice that face on anyone you know. And let's continue.
Near East. An empire that changed the ancient world. The Hittites.
So Kadesh is also Ramses. So when you hear a reference to the Battle of Ramses, that's also what they're talking about, the Battle of Kadesh. It's one and the same thing. Alright? There was one Kadesh in Egypt and one Kadesh in America. Okay? Near the Grand Canyon area.
A momentous battle is fought between the two superpowers of the day. On one side is the Egyptian army commanded by the legendary Ramesses II. Confronting Ramesses is a force that instills fear in all its enemies, but in time will become only an obscure footnote in the pages of history. A civilization forgotten for 3,000 years, until stunning archaeological discoveries will mark its rebirth. Asia Minor, today called Anatolia, a region covering the central and eastern part of Turkey. It is a land surrounded by Greece in the west, Iraq and Iran in the east, Syria in the south, and Russia in the north. In 1834, Charles Felix Marie Texier of...
Now look at the face. Look at that face. Okay? That is the depiction of an Hittite. If you have that face, if your face looks like that, most likely you are a descendant of this Hittite people. See, the Hittites, they couldn't grow facial hair. Okay? So if you cannot grow facial hair and your hair is straight and you have this type of facial features, you most likely stem from this great history here. There's no disrespect against your history. I'll get into it further.
French archaeologist was exploring in central Anatolia.
Look at that.
Near the small...
Now look how that looks. Tell me you don't know people that look like that.
town of Boaskoi, Texier discovered the ruins of a large ancient city. The mysterious city contained many walls and reliefs with strange hieroglyphic inscriptions. But at the time, the find generated little interest in the archaeological community. 40 years later, reliefs, statues, and stamp seals with similar hieroglyphics began turning up all around Anatolia and Syria. The intriguing discoveries pointed to a civilization with a common script and vast territory, stretching from western Turkey to northern Syria. In 1876, Archibald Henry Sayes gave a groundbreaking speech to the Society of Biblical Archaeology in London. Sayes claimed that he had established a connection among all the monuments and was able to partially decipher one of the stone reliefs. He argued that the inscriptions belonged to the Hittites. The academic community was stunned. Apart from a few passing references in the Bible, the Hittites were unknown to scholars. According to the Old Testament, they were just one among many tribes present in ancient Palestine.
Now look at that face. I know you see a lot of Latinas, Mexicans, Native Americans with that face. It's because their forefathers are the Hittites. And then colonization, their forefathers and the Europeans have made it. So that's where you get those Mexicans that can't grow any facial hair. And it's just same thing as in South and Central America. Many of those who can't grow facial hair come from this bloodline or one of their cousins.
The great surprise of the day was, of course, that this obscure tribe named in the Bible should have covered such a large territory, and with their inscriptions and their political power.
Once it was believed that the Hittites might have actually governed a large kingdom located between ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Aegean, all eyes turned to Boazkoi. An excavation team led by Hugo Winkler and Theodore Macready began digging in Boazkoi in 1906. The team quickly unearthed many tablets written in Cuneiform, a script formed by pressing a reed stylus into clay to make wedge-shaped signs. These symbols stood for syllables and words that were read left to right. Many of the texts were composed in Akkadian.
Yeah, you heard that. All these things are cuneiform and wrote from left to right. Who writes? Who writes left to right today? We all write left to right today. My ancestors, the Afro people with full beards, they used to write right to left. Now today, these people are called the natives of America, and their cousins run a system where we write left to right, like their forefathers did. Are you following me? No disrespect. Okay, but this is history, his story.
International language of ancient times. Akkadian had already been deciphered, so scholars could immediately read these.
So Akkadian, when you keep hearing Akkadian, Akkadian this, Akkadian that, Akkadian is the French people, the Canadian people. They are cousins to the Hittites. They went throughout Paris and conquered Paris. They went to Louisiana and conquered Louisiana, the Cajun people. They went to Canada and conquered Canada and became the Canadian government. This is the Akkadian people. They also went to Polynesia and they conquered Tahiti. And now majority of the Tahitians look French and they all speak French. So we have to understand that these people's histories are suppressed and perverted. Yet we all know who they are. We all have experiences with them, but we don't know that that's them. Okay? So the Acadians are the French people, the Canadian people, the Cajun people. Okay? Amongst other people, and the Hittites are the Native Americans, the Mongoloid people who cannot grow any facial hair. None whatsoever.
Tablets. Just a few weeks into the dig, the workers excavated a remarkable document, a clay tablet with a text referring to a so-called unpleasantness between the Egyptians and the Hittites. Closer examination revealed that the text was actually a peace treaty between the pharaoh Ramesses II and Hattusili III of the Hittites, signed after the Battle of Kadesh. This made the treaty...
So they said Ramses after the Battle of Kadesh. One thing I want to push across is everybody's history is real. The Assyrian history, the Hittite history, the Egyptian history, but the Hebrew history is fake. That's what everyone talk about. Okay. All right, let's get back into it.
3,000 years old.
It was a very important peace treaty and probably one of the very earliest, if not the earliest, peace treaty in the world. And as such, you can still see it today exhibited in the entrance to the Security Council of the United Nations in New York. Peace treaty in the world, and as such you can still see it today exhibited in the entrance to the Security Council of the United Nations in
So it's in the entrance of the Security Council of the United Nations in Washington, D.C.
New York.
Or in New York. So these people who run us are glorifying their ancestors' peace treaties with the Egyptian people. Alright? Let's get into it. Alright, cuneiform. That's what we know so far, right? Alright. So, what I'm trying to say is that the ones who we call Native Americans are the Hittites. And I'm going to explain why they're here, what had happened, and I'm going to validate who they are. A lot of misconceptions are all floating around. And because we don't appreciate our ancient writings, we've been fooled. Okay? So this is Chief Joseph. From March 3rd, 1840 to September 21st. Who was Chief Joseph? Chief Joseph, thunder rolling down the mountain. Hinma Toya Latkit, properly known as Chief Joseph, was the leader of the Nez Perce band of Indians. So his name was not Chief Joseph. His name was Hinma Toya Latkit. Okay? Thunder rolling down the mountain. Okay? The Europeans dubbed him Chief Joseph, or he later on became known as Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce band of Indians. Okay? Nez Perce was a Native American indigenous tribe to the Wallowa Valley of northeastern Oregon in the interior Pacific Northwest region of the United States. So that's a mouthful, but basically it's in the northeastern part of Oregon. Okay? So this is also gonna be so when they say this is in the northeastern part of Oregon, they're saying it's in the top part of the what we would call United States of America. So when I bring you this information, I'm gonna prove that a lot of these Mongoloid Hittites that cannot grow facial hair had tribes and kingdoms in the northern parts of America. And the Canadian archaeological individuals have a lot of research and evidence that can back this up. Okay? Right now we're going to go into some evidence from America. Okay? So, Nez Perce War. When Nez Perce tribe was forcibly removed from their ancestral land. So, what happened was, a lot of times, the lands had resources like copper and stuff. So they relocate them, or they want to build cities. So they were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands in the Wallowa Valley by the United States federal government. Chief Joseph led his band and fought against the American army. They were pursued by the U.S. Army in a campaign led by General Oliver O. Howard. This epic 1,170-mile fighting retreat by the Nez Perce in 1877 became known as the Nez Perce War. The skill in which the Nez Perce fought and the manner in which they conducted themselves in the face of incredible adversity led to widespread admiration among their military adversaries. So what they're saying is that the European army, they had much respect after seeing how long they held on and their fighting capabilities. And what do we know about the Hittites? The Hittites were a very capable military unit. Okay, what do we know about the Native Americans? That they are good at killing. Okay. Military adversaries in the American public. Chief Joseph was known as Red Napoleon at the time, so they had great respect for him, like Napoleon. Right? They called him the Red Napoleon. Okay. Continue. So this is from Assyria Times. So this is the area. This is the battle map. Okay. Chief Joseph's tablet. When Chief Joseph got captured by American army in 1877, he had an Assyrian cuneiform tablet in his medicine bag. The army took the small tablet, which later on ended up at the West Point Museum. The cuneiform dated back to about 2042 BC. This was the first cuneiform found in America, and it reads, Nalu. Wow. Nalu received one lamb from Abashaga on the 11th day of the month of the festival of An. In the year of Imagalana, was installed as high priestess of Nana. Okay? So this is all relative. Okay? Mary Ginling of Mystery writes, the chief said that the tablet had been passed down in his family for many generations, and that they had inherited from their white ancestors. Chief Joseph said that the white man had come among his ancestors long ago. So they're saying that they inherited from their ancestors. This is the interjection from the writer. And this is what he said. Chief Joseph said that white man had come among his ancestors long ago. So he's saying that the Assyrians, the white man,